Getting into a more peaceful section, which is the blows down section, and what is really nice about this is we can hear the birds singing, and you know I like that. So we're getting away from the traffic, heading into the busway, walking the track and heading effectively, there we go, got Andy back in shot, heading effectively to Chall End Lane. But we've got one or two interesting things along the way.
Incredible to think they're doing 50 mile an hour along there.
Yeah.
This is a picture of a Class 105 DMU. This is specially chartered by Luton Borough Council to run as a carnival shuttle service between Luton and Dunstable. This would have been in the mid to late 1980s. And as you can see, it's a preserved Class 105 DMU. A beautiful location, roughly at the same spot we are now.
Another one of Andy's pictures from 1991. Similar sort of location, just a different angled lens. Don't forget to click on my blows downs videos, because that starts just about at this spot here. We just walked over the bridge. Now that bridge is now the third version of the bridge. Originally there would have been a brick built one. Then the railway had its own one replace it again, and then they replaced it again with one for the busway, which probably wasn't cheap to start with. Now just over my shoulder here is a warehouse. In this sort of location here used to be a great big refrigeration area just after World War II. If you can imagine, people didn't have the modern amenities that we have today with the refrigerators and freezers and things like that. So things were kept there, and then they could farm them out to different places from here. Of course, they would have had their own access to the railway from here. So here we can see a bit of a siding here, and you can can see, what type of engine is that?
That was a Class 20, removing some refrigerated box fans out of the branch that served the cold storage depot.
That's it, that we just mentioned to you just a moment ago. And we're stood literally where Andy's thumb is where the main line was, where the branch line was. And a little bit earlier in time we can see a steam train coming along the main branch line and the cold sidings on the left, but that was obviously taken a lot earlier.
Long after the cold storage line had departed, the building had been demolished, the siding was kept in place, and in 1967 Quainton Road stored some old steam locos there before they was moved by road to Quainton Road itself.
And actually we can see one of the locos being transported, although not in a colour photograph, but still at least we've got a picture of it.
Class 33, number 33114, going past the fixed Great Northern signal. This would have been on one of the railway specials in the late 1980s. As you can see, it's got Mark II coaching stock behind it. Sometime in the late 1980s, early 1990s, this signal disappeared overnight. It was actually front pages of the local papers and on the news. Right, as I've already said, that the signal was taken, we assume stolen overnight. It must have been quite an undertaking, because that signal would have weighed probably 3/4 up to a ton. So whoever took it was very, very well organised. They must have had a low loader. It was on the news. Basically what happened was, one morning a guy took his dog for a walk and thought, there's something strange, there's something missing, but couldn't work it out. It was only on the way back he suddenly realised the signal was missing. Having a little look round, he could see where the signal once was, because there was a little bit of a hole in the ground. But bearing in mind the foundations of that signal would have gone at least 2 or 3 foot into the ground and probably set in concrete. The undertaking is that somebody must have done this professionally, probably stolen to order, but nobody knows who, nobody knows where, and nobody's seen it since.
So which one of you's got it?
But if someone's got it out there, I'd love to have it. In this picture you can see we're now actually coming up to the M1 bridge. The M1 bridge was actually built in 1959 to carry the line over the M1. But just prior to that you can see there was a concrete footbridge. This was been here for a number of years and carried people over from Luton into Blowsdown itself.
Not too much left of the bridge now, but the height of it is still here. Some sleepers have been put in the way and the concrete structure's been removed. But this is how high we would have been as you went over the bridge. Well, here's the original 1959 structure of the bridge over the M1. But we're gonna show you a shot from the other side. But as we walk across the M1, we want you just to remember what you're seeing, because it's hard to talk while stood here because of the noise from the motorway. So we've just walked across the bridge. You can see the concrete bridge, and now you can see the middle of the bridge hasn't changed at all. The structure's still exactly the same. And we filmed those features as we walked across. So all that's changed is the concrete, really, to allow for the buses to come across. Here's some photos of the M1 bridge being constructed, and you can see the railway still going across it. This photograph was taken in 1958, so it's pretty good, isn't it? It's pretty good photo. And we've got another one here, and this one shows a loco going across the top of the bridge. Again, not sure about the date of this one, but still another good photograph as the M1 was being constructed. Okay, so we've got a blue, I don't know, what would you call that? I don't know.
I think it's water.
Looks like water. If any of you know what this structure's for, please let us know in the comments, because it's been here for a long time and I can't find anything in documentation that says what it is. But probably looks like water. I don't know. We've now reached Chall End bus stop, which obviously is interesting for us because Chall End is where our bridge is that we just showed you in the picture just gone, but there's a lot more just beyond the bridge. This is my memory of my childhood. This is the Chall End crossing. This is what I remember cutting across with my dad on my push bike, and I was a bit scared in case there was a train coming.
In 1914, George Kent, who already had a large factory in Luton, built a munitions factory just over the road there. The reason why it was built here is for two reasons. First of all, it was far enough out of the centre of Luton to be safe just in case, because the conditions and the mixtures of the chemicals they were using were very, very highly volatile. So to keep things away from Luton, they built it as far as away from Luton as they could. Chemicals could be bought in and full munitions could be removed. However, to help with the manufacture of this, a small wooden platform was built this side to accommodate many local women. It was mostly women that could work in the munitions factories because most of the men were fighting in the front line. The conditions must have been absolutely appalling. The platform remained here until about 1920 when it was removed. The picture we just showed you had the points leading into a loop siding laid in 1898, which later gave a connection to the private sidings of the Port Chemical Works. The company initially moved here to manufacture hydrogen peroxide for hat bleaching, hats being the mainstay of Luton, hence the name of the football team, the Hatters. The ports eventually dealt with other chemicals, bringing much varied traffic to their sidings. The ground frame that controlled the west of the loop was removed in 1972. The bridge you could see in the picture carried waste from the works to a settling lagoon nearby. This settling lagoon is now where B&Q is stationed now.
So this is Hatter's Way. It's quite noisy, so we're going to try and dip behind the fence. Of course, it's called Hatter's Way because it goes to Luton Town Football Club. Okay, so we know the audio is bad on this, but Andy's going to just say what it is.
Okay, this photograph was taken about 1910, maybe 1920. You can see the railway in the foreground, the factory in the middle, and at the back you can see Kingsway rising up towards Dunstable Road in the top of the picture.
We can't film this from below because we can't get down there, but this is the Kingsway Bridge and we're now above it, standing above it, and you can see the houses in the distance. So we've reached the Clifton Road bus stop. Now this is just before Luton Town Football Club, and Luton Town Football Club are playing Millwall today.
It's a bit quiet though, isn't it?
Yeah, we can't hear very much other than the Hatters Way Road. We're just panning back round here. Just the opposite from here is the yard.
Maple Road Coal Yard.
Yeah.
Around here there used to be a lot of coal sidings for local coal merchants. You've got to bear in mind that many years ago everybody had coal fires and all factories were all run on coal. So coal was a very high industrial usage around here, and there were several sidings around here. Unfortunately, obviously with the advent of North Sea gas and other electrical appliances, coal was completely diminished. By 1950s and certainly 1960s, coal had mostly gone.
Did you used to have a coal bunker in your house?
I did indeed, sir.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And the coal man used to come and tip it in from out on the street, didn't he?
Indeed, yes.
So you might wonder why it's taken us so long to film this next section, because it has been about a year. Well, it's because you remember, the BBC programme called Sherlock, and there was an individual in that called Benedict Cumberbatch. Now, before that, he wasn't really known. Then he done Sherlock, and now he's so busy he can't do Sherlock. Well, Mr. Ward's a bit like that. You see, we did a video about a year ago. In fact, some of our first videos together. Indeed. And he's been the busiest man on the planet ever since. And whenever we've had any time, unfortunately the weather's been trash.
Yep.
So it's never good, is it? And whenever it's been sunny, we've both been different places and couldn't do anything. So it's took us a year to put this together. So it's worth the wait, we hope. So make sure you click on the old subscribe button and put the thumbs up as you go.
Indeed.
Back to the walk.
Now, in 1967, Quainton Road, or the Buckinghamshire Railway Authority, kept some locos there for onward transportation to Quainton Road itself. So the branch line had its own little siding there. Also, it was on a railway line, so a thing associated with Luton and its hat factory. But eventually...
Oops, quack, quack, quack.